You ready to roll?
Ready.
It's open. Do my intro.
Okay.
I will say I screw up my intro almost every episode.
That's good. It keeps it unique.
I end up tripping up the words, and then I'm just like, shit. Just a couple times. I think I got it perfect with my wife here, but she just...
You're like super comfortable there, though.
Mm-hmm.
So
I am. That was like the one time.
it's going to happen. Today's the day.
Today is the day. All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
What is up, everybody? This is Joe Adams, and welcome to the Relentless Pursuit Podcast. What we do on this podcast is bringing guests from all different backgrounds, all different walks of life to share their story, their journey, and everything along the way that led them to where they're at today. If that is for you, if you want to find some inspiration, hear some killer stuff, check this out, like, subscribe, everything. It's going to be worth it. If that is not for you, I don't know what your problem is. Still subscribe, check it out. Thank you. But without further ado, I'm going to introduce our wonderful guest today, Mrs. Hannah Cole.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's good to have you here.
It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, and actually, it went pretty smooth.
That's great.
So I'm happy about that. But that being said, I'm going to introduce you lightly. So Hannah was brought to me by recent guest Rick. If you haven't heard his story, check out 103 or 104. You won't regret that either. One of the most powerful stories that I've ever heard.
Oh, I cried like a baby.
Yeah, yeah. I cried. Just to say, when I had to edit it too, like he's sharing it with me, and you could feel the emotion.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just like trying not to burst out into tears. And then I'm like editing and constantly going through it. And I'm just like, God, yeah, it definitely gave me some reflection. And yeah, it was heavy stuff, but
it's hard.
It's powerful though. And it's very uplifting in so many ways as well. So it's beautiful. But Rick works with her, or you do some work on him. And I'll let you explain that. But yeah, he talked you up, said you got a story. And I was like, well, then I got to get her on.
Yeah, that's very kind of him. Yeah. So, I work with Rick.
Just tell us what you do real quick. We'll just brush over that.
So energy medicine, frequency medicine, that's kind of a couple names that get thrown around in this space, but it's some really unique modalities that most people haven't experienced, most people haven't heard about. We do a device called the Therify that is stimulating cellular regeneration.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually stimulating the mitochondria of the cell, so it's waking up all the cells in the body.
Nice.
And getting them to go back to work, which was really appealing to Rick, considering the injuries that he had had. We do red light therapy, which is amazing, really incredible bed that we have. Yeah. So that's great. And then in pharmaceuticals, we do a bioenergetic wellness system. So we can get more into that. But it's really, really just cool stuff. And people who are kind of hitting a wall in their healing journey tend to find this is the key that unlocks that next level of healing. Yeah. Especially when they're coming from strictly Western medicine and just approaching it from a chemical side. This is kind of that electrical side that we don't spend enough time on. That is so impactful. And so it can just unlock all of these other energy pathways in the body, and just like this whole other level of healing gets to happen. So it's very, very cool.
What's the name of your business?
It is InTENNtional Wellness.
InTENNtional Wellness. Check them out. We'll talk more about it. Okay. I hear a lot of these things from Jesse, so it's going to be cool to hear your perspective and how you educate me on it as well, because I'm just like, hell yeah, dude.
It sounds really cool.
Yeah, but I mean, he's really passionate about it, and I can tell you are as well, and I love that. Where are you located? In Franklin, right?
Cool Springs, yeah.
Cool Springs, cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And it's interesting to have you share that too, because it's still so taboo.
Oh yeah,
those kind of practices. But I like the more taboo things because there's I put a lot of weight in that different kind of stuff because the current system's not working.
Broken.
Yeah, it's broken. So we need that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to dive in. But first, I want to know what led you there.
Okay.
So Hannah, you ready to take it back?
Oh, let's take it back.
Let's take it back. Tell us where you're from.
Okay.
Dive into your childhood a little bit, just things that occurred there, influences there, and what just kind of morphed you to who you are today. Okay. And we'll just roll with that.
That sounds good. All right. So I am one of 7 kids.
God.
Yeah, we're not even Catholic. I mean, my dad's actually Catholic, but
you got to be Catholic to do that.
That's the question I always get asked. But I second oldest, but oldest girl, so kind of the oldest. Like the caretaker. Of the group. But my dad was an artist, a painter. My mom was a teacher. So,
like Picasso.
Yeah.
Really?
Like,
it's big. Yeah.
He did more he worked with acrylics and did landscapes and that sort of thing primarily, cool. But he could pretty much, he was the most creative person I've ever met. So very cool guy. Mom is still an elementary school teacher. So they picked the 2 poorest careers that you could possibly have and then decided to have.
Yeah. Let's have 7 kids. I think we're okay.
But overall, good childhood, lots of happy memories. We were all very close. We grew up in East Tennessee, just outside of Gatlinburg, kind of in the mountains, beautiful.
What town?
So it's called Seymour. It's super small town, right on the other side of Sevierville.
It's so pretty out there.
It's gorgeous. It was a really cool place to grow up too. My first job was Dollywood. I worked there all through high school.
Yeah.
It was very cool. But yeah, so happy memories, but also I've suppressed a lot. I don't have a ton of childhood memories because there was a lot going on with my dad. So as long as I can remember, as long as he can remember, he had issues with depression, horrible depression. And we experienced a lot of the manic sides of that growing up. So there was a lot of walking on eggshells, a lot of just you never knew what you were going to get. He would barricade himself off in his room for days at a time, or he'd be out lashing out and throwing stuff around. And you
think that stems from the career path? But only because you hear stories of history,
a lot artist.
With the artists. Yeah. I mean, it's sad because they create so much beauty, but yet you don't know what's really going on inside.
Right.
It's a weird contrast.
Yeah. He kind of always said that too. He didn't feel like he was meant for this world. So it was an intense thing to say to a bunch of kids.
Yeah. Y'all are just thanks.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand it, honestly, until later in life. But no, he actually came from a football family. My papa actually played for the Boston Patriots, defensive back.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So very sports oriented. And they were his brothers were really into sports too. And he was kind of the odd man out, the black sheep. Into something a little different, but finding out later, they all kind of had their experiences with depression as well. So there's a lot, deeper root to it, but my mom is just the sweetest woman you'll ever meet. And she took a lot of the brunt of that and tried to protect us as much as she could from a lot of the
That's unfortunate for her.
Yeah. So, it's interesting because my mom and I were not really close growing up, until honestly after I had my son. And I think that was a big part of it. Was my dad actually was very codependent on me, and kind of drug me into the shit a lot.
Yeah.
And that was heavy at a very young age. But then, even when I moved out and left for college, I started at MTSU, got my apartment, and he actually ended up leaving my mom at that point and came and moved in with me in my apartment.
Oh.
Yeah.
I bet you weren't expecting that.
It was
You're supposed to be off on your own.
It was my first taste of freedom,
Yeah.
We were pretty sheltered growing up, very separated from family. We lived up on a mountain, and we just kind of got closed off in his whole
domain
world. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting too. I guess it'd be hard for I don't know how you have a close relationship with one kid when you got 7. You know what I'm saying? But then again, people make it happen, right? But yeah, like you said, you were kind of, I guess, in a way isolated by your father.
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
So then, when he moved in there, it was kind of I was his everything. He didn't know anybody where we were. I never knew him to be a drinker, but he started drinking when he moved out there, and just things started spiraling really quickly. He was very suicidal. And even though most people that knew him did not know that side of him, because when he was around people, he was just very carefree and
you wouldn't know it.
Like, no, there was a lot of that. And so regularly I would be in class or I would be at work and be getting texts from him just spiraling. And I would have to leave to talk him off the edge, you know.
You know, it's crazy too, thinking on that because, you know, you're just trying to have like a college experience.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure it made it difficult, like having a social life.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I didn't want to bring people back to my house, even though like my friends actually really loved him. They thought he was so fun and, you know, all this stuff. Like it was such a...
You just didn't know what to expect either.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I was torn, you
It's
know.
a lot.
You never knew like what was going to come out. And I was kind of embarrassed a lot, which I felt horrible because I loved him so much, but I was also just, it was like this inner battle, this inner struggle all the time. I mean, there was a point where I literally was wrestling a knife out of his hand. And my dad was 6'6", like massive guy.
You're pretty tall. How tall are you?
I'm 6 foot.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, she's tall. Were you an athlete?
No.
No,
actually,
surprisingly.
No, I mean, just casually, but no.
Yeah.
It was not in the cards for me. But everybody always asks me, of course, did you play basketball? No.
No, didn't you? Well, anyways, you're tall.
Yeah,
so.
I am. So yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was intense and it sucked. And he did try several times to go on different medications. He wasn't like fully committed to trying, but he, you know, would say, I'll try a couple of them. And just nothing was working. And he's an artist too. So he doesn't want something that's going to make him feel like a zombie, which is what he kept finding was like, I can't be myself. I can't have my talent. I can't be who I am and be okay for everybody else.
It was kind of numbing that creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what he did.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
God,
That's
what a wild place to be in for him.
Oh, yeah.
And it sounds like, I mean, just he was in like a tormenting place for
Yeah.
a long time. I mean, as far back as you can remember.
Yeah, always. I really, truly don't remember a time where things were different. And it could have had, like talking to my mom now, there were times, I'm sure, growing up where things were different. But like I said, I don't have a ton of those memories.
You buried it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot to deal with, I think, at your age. And
Yeah.
then that transition to college, I mean, it's like you could never break away from that. But he was obviously going through so much, and it's weird because you just wonder,
Yeah.
you know, like what was it?
Right.
Yeah. And I take it you haven't been able to figure that out, or
I don't know. Actually, there's a lot of what I do now is actually shedding a lot of light on things that he was experiencing.
you able to find a deeper understanding, I guess.
Being able to look at it through a different lens almost and see like what the conflicts were that he was going through and how that kind of triggered this neurological programming that he just couldn't escape because he was constantly like triggering those same conflicts over and over again.
Yeah. And it seems that, like, you know, and like we'll get to it, but obviously a lot of that must have a lot to do with what you do now.
It does.
Yeah, it seems to be like probably a big inspiration behind your career path.
For sure.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a doctor for as long as I could remember. That's what I thought I was going to be. And then I, got pregnant with my son, and I thought, okay, nurse, like to dial it back a little bit. And it just kept happening. Like I was just taking steps back, and it just wasn't ever adding up until, recently. So, but my dad actually ended up committing suicide when I was 19. And
is he living with you?
So no, I had actually moved back home after the year finished because it was just
too much.
Awful. But my brother had moved up there. My younger brother. He is a year younger than me, but he was finishing out high school while I was starting college, and he actually graduated early and ended up moving in with my dad to help him out. And so my brother actually found him. My dad had written him a letter knowing that he was going to be the one to find him. So he found the letter and ended up, sitting outside his door for a while before he could make himself go in. But
really,
yeah.
Dang. So. You want to talk about? I mean, well, how was that part of your life for you? I mean,
it changed everything.
Did you expect it maybe because of
I was
the
always
signs?
expecting it.
Yeah.
But no, because there were so many times, and I was so resentful because, like I said, I would leave work and have to call him to talk him off the ledge. I mean, I'm sitting here with a gun in my hand, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
how are you putting this on me? And the guilt that I held on to for a while because he was calling me over and over again before this happened, and I was ignoring him. I was so pissed. I was pissed that he kept putting me in the position. I was pissed because he kept telling me I needed to move back out there to take care of my brother. It's not my responsibility, you know? I'm 19 years old. Like,
Yeah. Like,
I want to be a kid, you know? And just,
as you should. Yeah.
and I didn't get it at the time that that's what he was saying, like that I needed to move back up there to take care of him because he wasn't going to be there. It didn't click.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's heavy. Did you I guess after finding that out, did you did you feel some level of guilt?
oh yeah, I mean, the years of grief and trauma counseling that followed,
Really?
because it was my fault, and then coming to find out later that all of my siblings and several of my relatives felt like it was their fault too, because he had reached out to a lot of people.
Oh.
And it was kind of just because everybody had been experiencing it, we were all kind of hitting that wall at the same time where we were just like, oh, there's nothing that I can do to help you. Like, you have to help yourself.
Yeah.
And so we all kind of got to that point at the same time, unfortunately.
Man, that's a dark place to be in for people.
Super
They
dark.
had to feel that. I mean, I couldn't imagine, you know. I mean, you feel guilty when someone passes and you're like, damn, they could have just reached out to me.
Right.
But then this is like a totally different situation because they did.
Right.
But like you said, it was a constant threat.
Mm-hmm.
You know, boy who cried wolf
Right.
scenario.
Right.
Like, he's not going to do it.
Right.
Just
And I truly did get to that point where I thought, you know, he won't actually do it, but he just needs some extra attention. Like,
yeah. I guess you could say, so today, do you still feel any of that guilt, or have you been like, no, like, this isn't on me?
I truly don't.
Yeah.
I wish that things could be different because, you know, I have kids. I would have loved for him to be a part of their lives and to be a part of my life and to have the opportunity to do things differently.
Yeah.
And, you know, find some of the resources that I have now that I think could have changed things for him. But I don't feel the guilt. I don't feel the anger. There's still some sadness there for him just having to go through that because it's heartbreaking. I can't imagine getting to that place and being alone and just everything that he felt in those last moments. But I know he probably felt even worse for all of us, like knowing what he was doing. Yeah. And as a parent, I can't imagine making that choice, you know, and how much pain you actually have to be in to pull the trigger.
It's a wild thing. I had my friend Cassie on here, and she actually got to that point to where she pulled the trigger, and she was standing in front of the mirror, and you know, it knocked her head back. But I mean, she showed me pictures. Her face is just like,
wow.
Yeah, and awesome person. My wife loves her, and everybody loves her, and so, but it was just crazy. And she talks about being awake during that. Like, it didn't knock her out or anything. And like, she was, and she showed me a video of the cops coming in and to her house and everything. I mean, it's wild.
That is so intense.
And she said it was to the point that, you know, when that happened, it was like she was possessed. And I was like, man. And to me, in a way, you know, people talk about like demons and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't think demons come in the form of like spikes and red with like metal armor on. Like, to me, I think that kind of stuff looks cool. I'm like, dude, that's metal as shit. But like, I'm like, yeah, I love that kind of stuff. But like, I think it is in the form of like darkness and depression. And they're like, it's a much heavier thing that you can't really see. It's more of a feeling, you know?
Yeah.
Those even anger, just those negative feelings are in this, to me, in a way, demons.
Absolutely.
And they just can possess you at some point.
I totally agree.
When you let them get out of control. So it's just crazy to think about, you know. This is a heavy question. You don't have to answer it. What if you could say something to your dad today, what would you say to him?
Oh, man. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. It's okay that you felt the way that you felt and that you couldn't keep going. And I understand. And I wish things could be different, like I said, but I've had this incredible opportunity to work with a woman doing myofascial release. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Yeah.
But she also has this incredible spiritual gift where she is able to kind of communicate with.
Like a medium?
Sort of. So I've actually gotten a lot of closure out of that too, of him being present at my sessions and being able to give me messages about just him apologizing, him telling me how proud he is of me, and even talking about my kids and how he has gotten to hold them. And oh man,
that's beautiful.
It is.
And if you're willing to dive into those spaces, it can be a really positive thing.
Absolutely.
Talking to Rick, and thank you for sharing that. I know it's one of those things that you don't really probably get asked, right? But
Sure.
it's good to know where your heart's at with it. And it's, after talking to Rick and Kelly, obviously their loss, it's like we talked about, those ones you lose in your life, the greatest honor you can do to them is to carry their spirit with you and do the best you can.
Yeah.
Like they're a part of that.
Yeah.
And that's a powerful thing if you think about it. And that's all, I haven't suffered a lot of loss, thankfully, but as I get older, I will. It's part of life.
Yeah.
And that's going to be part of the purpose then too, right? Like
Absolutely.
I got to bring these people with me through battle, know? So
yeah, that's really what it is.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. We talked about the loss of your father, move forward from that, and then kind of coming to peace over time, and then being in a place today where how old are you?
I just turned 35.
Oh, well, just turned, I guess, happy birthday. I don't know. When did you turn 35?
July, end of July.
Oh, nice. All right, cool. I'm like right behind you. I'll be 35 in April. But, here you are, 35. You're at a place in your life where, you've understood things a lot more. Why you may not understand it all, which is fine. But you found that closure.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, would you say a lot of your family has been able to come to that as well?
Yeah, I think we all kind of took our own paths in getting there.
Mm-hmm.
And, where we kind of grew apart a little bit during that season. But I think we've come back together, and even recently actually all sat down together just to have that conversation, because we never had it.
Oof.
Of just kind of where we all left each other. It was intense.
I can imagine.
A lot of tears. But everybody had their own experience, and everybody had their idea of their own relationship with Dad, and then, their perception of everybody else's relationship. And I guess there was even some jealousy, or not jealousy, but they always felt like I was Dad's favorite and we were the closest. And I thought, man, I would have loved to not be Dad's favorite.
Yeah. Because that carried a heavy burden.
Yeah. And just like everything that comes along with that is just like the responsibility and the things that I didn't share with everybody because I was trying to protect everybody from it. And
well, I think it's really cool that y'all did that because, I think in those situations, I can imagine a lot of times families just completely just shut each other off for good because there's so many, and they just leave it at that.
Yeah.
And that just seeps in and that eats at you forever.
Yeah.
So
sure.
I'm big on confrontation. I think confrontation is a must always.
Yeah.
Because that's how you actually come to closure.
That's
how you grow. That's how you even if you like have a falling out with that person based off that conversation, at least you got some answers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everybody, I mean, even if you do come to blows, like you leave feeling better, like you got something on your chest, you had some resolution, like there's some closure.
There was a result. At least you're not going to be thinking about it for like, whoa. Yeah. But so moving forward, obviously that happened. You had moved back to East Tennessee.
I did.
Were you still in school, or like you're pursuing school, or you said you had a daughter? I don't know how.
Well, my son
or
first.
son. Okay.
So this is crazy. I had moved back to East Tennessee, but as soon as that happened, I actually ended up moving back to Middle Tennessee. And the guy I was seeing at the time actually lived in Middle Tennessee.
Okay.
So I ended up staying with him, grieving. 2 weeks later, was pregnant. All the things. So yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah, it's
19, was like just feeling super lost. And then, my son, Phoenix. So we named him Phoenix because
Cool.
the rising of the ashes.
Yeah.
So a nice, powerful name for him. Super cool kid. But yeah, unexpected. You know, it's not where I thought I was going. I actually didn't end up going back to school for several years. And even then didn't stay for super long. Like I said, I kept getting derailed and but it was like laying the groundwork for what was going to come. I mean, I knew that I wanted to help people on a deeper level. Like I always had that feeling. Like I want to be a healer. I want to be, you know, this integrative part of people's healing journey.
Of course.
You know, I wanted to be involved in that. So
it led you there. You know, I can imagine, I guess, you know, here you are grieving and then you're pregnant.
Yeah.
And you're like, you know, you haven't get to focus on yourself at all.
Yeah.
You know, because prior to that, you're focused on your father and being there for him. So you never really got to, like, I guess, hone in on who you were becoming. Yeah. And then you have a baby, and then you got to you got to focus on them. Yeah. I've seen it with my sister. You know, she had my niece Jaden at 19. You know, and so they're usually your 20s. Like for me, I got to grow and figure out who I was and have my first, right. And then so I'm able to just devote all that energy into my daughter in essence, right? I know who I am now. You know, so I applaud people, you know, like you that have to figure that out from a very young age and grow along that because that's a lot.
Together. Yeah. We really did. It was both of us kind of finding ourselves at the same time.
Yeah. What was that like, you know, being a young mother?
You know, it was cool. Not cool. It was intense. There was a lot of highs and lows. The relationship didn't work out with his father, and so that was really strained. I was really close with his family though, and they were very helpful, incredible, like stepped up for me. Yeah. Because I had put some distance between me and my family at that point, not because of anything they did, just because we were all kind of grieving and doing our own thing. Yeah. But they were really amazing for me at that time. And then so we did a lot of growing up together.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like. How old is he now?
He just started high school. He's 14. I know.
That's crazy.
It's weird.
I bet. I know my daughter like started walking and I'm like, this is weird.
Right. It's wild. It's super wild.
Yeah. You got a long way ahead of me. So I guess bring us to where you're at now from that. You know, it didn't work out with him. Obviously, you have a family now.
I do.
Did you work just a bunch of odd jobs or just?
I did. I kind of did a little bit of any. I worked as a nursing assistant in HC. Like I said, you know, I still want to do something. Yeah. But then I was bartending, which was also kind of like babysitting for adults. But I was making great money. I was able to pay all my bills. My bosses were amazing and would let me like bring my son to the office when I needed to and like set him up with like, you know, technology and snacks.
Keep him entertained while you're, I mean, you were doing the best you can.
I was, you know, and I had a lot of help. My mom was amazing. My family was amazing. My son's father's family was amazing, supportive at the time. But that's actually how I met my husband. Okay. He was a regular at the bar that I worked at and could not stand him. I thought he was so obnoxious. Seriously, I'm not exaggerating.
Got any good stories?
No, he was like that guy that would like whistle or like snap like when he needed a drink. You know what I mean? Like it was the most just, he would walk in and like he tipped great, like was great for everybody else, but I swear, like he would come in and I'm like nose goes, like I'm not doing it. Like somebody else get him. It was so funny because that lasted for a while. But then he ended up inviting himself to like a backyard barbecue kind of situation I was having at my house with like my roommate and everything. He was like, "What time is it? You know, I heard you." I'm like, "Oh, this is what time it is." And I honestly didn't think he would come, but he did. And we started hanging out.
Then you got to know him.
Yeah.
Oh, he's not just a finger snap. And
well, he has this like hard outer shell
Yeah.
that is kind of douchey, you know. It is that's just what it is. But it's the biggest heart.
I want to hear his side of this.
No, he'll tell you the same thing. It's true.
Okay. So funny. He's probably sitting there like, damn.
We've had this conversation a lot. He knows how he was.
Yeah, of course.
But no, I mean, he's one of the kindest, sweetest, most genuine people, and just the biggest heart, and such a giver, and lets me be the bleeding heart that I am.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy, you know, that initial impression of him.
Yeah.
You end up being 100% wrong.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild how it works out?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and then y'all got like a family of what?
So we have a daughter together.
Okay, cool.
Who's 9 now. So yeah, and he's an awesome dad to my son as well. Like,
yeah.
And my son's father actually works for him now. So we keep it really.
So everything like meshes very well.
It does.
That's
It
hey,
flows.
that's a good scenario.
It is.
Because sometimes it ain't that easy.
Yeah, 100%.
You know?
We are very blessed.
Oh yeah, I know. I mean, I know some people that are, you know, try to co-parent and whatnot, and it's just like I feel for you, dude.
It's tough.
Yeah,
I mean,
is.
and it's not one size fits all either. Like,
yeah, and I admire him for. I mean, being able to, you know, I think it's cool that being willing to take on fatherhood, you know, someone else's kid too.
100%.
You know, like props to him for that because that's a huge responsibility.
Oh yeah.
You know?
I mean, he didn't miss a beat with it, and my son was 4 at the time that we started hanging out, and just right away was so great with him and always included him. And
of course, you were just like, oh yes,
I know.
Yeah, they like warmed you up.
That's it.
That's cool. How long have y'all been married now?
So we actually didn't get married until 2021.
Okay, but y'all were together for a while.
Oh yeah, lived in sin for all the years.
Oh, trouble. Can't believe y'all.
No, it was pretty crazy. Like I didn't want to get married.
Yeah.
And that's really kind of, I said for the longest, I told him when we first met, I'm like, we can live together, have a baby if that's what you want. But like, I don't want to be married. And I know I got a bad taste in my mouth for it growing up, and just seeing, my parents never really seemed to like want to be together. And it was just,
They did it for the kids.
Yeah. And I didn't want that. I didn't want anybody to like stay with me just because it was the right thing to do.
Well, you see how many people are together for the kids.
Yeah.
But the result of that can be pretty terrible.
So damaging to the kids.
Yes.
Those poor kids.
It's like, don't do it for the kids. Like, no, you figure it out outside of that, if it doesn't work out. I mean, but I've talked about this a lot. People, they stop focusing on one another.
Yeah.
I tell my wife, you're always number one. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people think that's crazy. And I'm like, well, we're the foundation. If I don't take care of the foundation, then what good is that for my daughter? But if I'm just fully focused on her and then let that slide away, it's only going to result in a negative side effects for all of us.
I agree. 100%.
Yeah. So you focus. My friend's mother asked me for his wedding. She was like, "What's some advice you got for Kyle?" I was like, "Never stop dating." And she had some drinks and she was like, "Yeah, you go on dates." And I'm like, "No, like never stop dating this person. Like,
pursuing.
Yeah, like." Impress her, treat her like you did, like when y'all met, and always.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't hard at one point, so why do you stop doing it? Of course, you got the disagreements, and there's going to be tension, and I'm building a business, and it's makes things really hard, but I always am focused on that because
that's so good.
That's the foundation.
It is.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the best relationship advice you could give anybody. That's so true. You have to put each other first. You have to be solid and united, and we tell our kids all the time, like, you're not gonna like go between us. You're not gonna go and ask one and then go and ask the other.
Hell no.
And you're not pitting us against each other. Like, we're a united front, and but together, like, we're all a team.
Mm-hmm.
We all have our role in this.
Yeah.
And so we treat them like the same. You guys have to be on this level too. There's an expectation, and you don't have to do all the same shit that we do, but you play your part, and that contributes to us functioning well as a family and getting to do the things we want to do.
It's extremely important. Yeah, we align with you like 110%, and I think that's great. I mean, but the thing is, like, being able to see that rather than you like following suit. Yeah, you were able to see like you didn't want that, and you were careful getting there, and obviously you had a solid foundation, and
Yeah.
you got married, so it worked out. You have a big wedding.
We did, and I again didn't want a
What's the
wedding.
thing about that? Yeah.
It was funny though, because Jeff's my husband. His mom actually had said, I didn't have a big wedding. Like we just had a little thing in my living room, and I feel like if I could go back, then maybe I would have had a bigger wedding. And so I like sat and thought about it. I'm like, maybe I do want a big wedding. Well, we ended up, planning all of that, and then COVID. And we were supposed to get married in October of 2020 and had to cancel. I was like, this is a nightmare.
Screwed a lot of things up. Yeah.
But it couldn't have been any more perfect. We had it out in Culleoka at, what was it? I forget. Miller Lake. There's a big barn venue.
A little bit. I don't know where Culleoka is.
It's like south. Yeah.
I don't know. Well, you would know. My wife and I got married at Kate's Cove. Yeah.
That's where my dad's ashes are.
Really?
Yeah. Darken that up for you. Sorry.
Hey, wait, what part of it? We were at where the big tree's at.
Okay, so part of him is there.
Really? That is wild, because I was at the little gravestones.
Oh, that's so cool.
I took some pictures there. I don't know. I was just like,
I should have recognized that from your pictures, because I was oohing and awing for your wedding, because they were gorgeous, and her dress and the hat. Oh, it was
yeah,
amazing.
she was flawless. Yeah.
It was so cool.
But yeah, that's pretty wild to think about, honestly. Damn. But it's a cool spot.
It is.
Beautiful spot.
It is.
Yeah, it was a perfect day. But yeah, that's over by you. So got married.
Yeah.
Worked out. Got the kiddos. You gonna have any more?
No,
you're
so
good.
done.
Yeah, one more for us. We're good.
Yeah.
But now, how long ago? Oh, you said 2021.
Mm-hmm.
When did you? So I guess this kind of bridges into where you're at with your career.
Yeah. So all of this was kind of happening around the same time. I was getting really desperate for purpose.
Yeah. I knew you were going to say purpose.
Oh man, feeling like the weight of it.
Yeah.
And I love my kids. I love my family. I love that I got to be home and be such a huge part of their upbringing. And I wouldn't trade that for the world. But like now I'm standing here like I never figured out who I was or what I was supposed to be doing. And that's my sole identity is Jeff's wife.
You could feel it.
And like my kid's mom.
Yeah. You wanted more.
Yeah.
But for yourself.
Right. And I didn't want to be selfish, but I was desperate, like praying. And we ended up we do this yearly fast with our church, like 21 days and the first of the year. And so I was like, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fast and fast for purpose.
Yeah.
Right. Like I just want clarity on what I'm supposed to be doing. And I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, and it was so quick and how it was all coming together and the path was just so lighted and the schooling even that I was doing like kept being presented to me. And my mother-in-law was such a huge part of it. She's such an incredible encourager. And she kind of introduced me to a lot of this stuff too, because she's had her own amazing healing journey over the years. And so she was introducing me to different modalities. And actually David, who we talked about at Therify Nashville, took me up there for the first time and experienced that. And I was like, okay, like
this is magic.
I have to do something in frequency. And at that point, like I was in school and I was loving everything that I was doing. And I just kept saying, but how do I decide like what the thing is going to be? Right. Because it's all so cool. And then frequency just kept coming back around. Like whatever you do, just utilize that, because this is we're scratching the surface of what these modalities can do.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are the only two people, and now I guess this David guy, but y'all like the 3 people I know of that do it in the area.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something to say about that.
I mean, and they're using it overseas, of course, which they have in Europe and Australia and Canada. They have, a much larger following, but it's starting to trickle into the States, and there's nothing like it. Like it feels like magic.
I know, it's good stuff. I mean, like part of like my protocol I'm going to take on is doing the spooky thing, because he showed me how to set it up, and I'm just going to do that in the mornings or sometime of the day, when no one's here. But yeah, I mean, why not? And I'll get to go
change it.
Yeah, exactly. And so I guess dive into more of that a little bit, educate the listeners and viewers, because a lot of people are probably like, what the hell is you talking about? Frequencies.
I know.
Yeah, I know what a frequency is. People just don't really understand this. And I mean, you're probably teaching me something too. So
Sure.
yeah, just dive into it.
So I guess taking it back down to like the most basic of energy, right? We are energy. Every cell in our body is energy. Everything around us is energy.
Yeah.
Lost half the audience, right?
They're like,
so woo.
Listen.
But it is.
Yeah.
It is. Like we are chemical, but we are also electrical beings. So if you are not supporting that side of things, you're missing half the equation.
Mm-hmm.
That's why when you go and put your bare feet on the earth, you feel things, right? There is a negative charge from the earth.
Yeah.
That is calming to the body. It actually helps to heal you. So even just starting there, energy from the sun, you know what it feels like when you go and you get like recharged from the sun, right?
Yeah. Unless it's like 95 degrees and I'm
sure,
like, what are you doing, son?
But like you've experienced those like positive, uplifting feelings from
without
those
a doubt.
things. And that's why. Even just like person to person, if you walk into a room, I love, somebody said that your energy introduces you before you do. You've been in a room with somebody like, I do not want to talk to that person. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Because they're putting off this energy. And like, even if you can't see it, like there is a tangible feeling that it's either good or bad, right? And you have the same with good energy. People who are just like, oh, I'm like a magnet to this person because they're just always bringing like this positivity and this warmth. That is energy.
Yeah.
But on a deeper level, even talking like crystals. So this was one my mom had a hard time getting on board for too, because she's like, Hannah, crystals.
I know. I gave Jesse, like, look at this rock. And I'm like, woo.
Right. So like scrap the woo. Like it's not magic. It's powerful in that it has a specific frequency that can be beneficial.
Yeah, just
to
like the
body.
properties that make up that thing.
Yeah, that's it. It's how it's interacting with our frequencies. And so some of them can be very calming. Some of them can be very grounding. So I have a PEMF mat, for example, and it's packed with crystals. Like it has amethyst and black tourmaline crystals. So it's a grounding mat. Essentially, when you lay on it, you feel like you're being pulled into it. It's like you're melting. Like it just feels very calming, very relaxing. So those types of things. That's what frequency is. It's not like this big, scary, out there, woo-woo, worshiping.
Unfortunately, like social media, like some people just embrace these different things and they just put a bad taste in others' mouths
100%.
with it because the way they put it out there.
Well,
they like want to make it woo-woo just to have like an edge.
100%.
And it's like, listen, I don't know. It's obvious to me. I'm like, you're just doing this.
Right.
You're being a little bit extra for the hell of it. But there's, but it pushes a lot of people away.
It does. Well, and historically speaking, it got a bad rap, like witchcraft and, like you see the intention behind it. And that's also important. That's why my business is called what it's called.
Yeah.
Intention is key. You can absolutely use things with ill intention and get, a negative kind of response. But if you are intending to heal, if you're using frequency to benefit the body, if you're using things like crystals to bring good energy into the body field, it's really powerful.
Exactly.
So I do what's called bioenergetic wellness. I'm a bioenergetic technician. And really that's about detecting and correcting energy in the body. So when you think about like the physical backup in the body, like when our blood gets thick and things aren't moving, when we get constipated because, things aren't flowing well, this is the energy side of that. So there is energy flow through the body and we can detect that with this system. We can see where there is distortions in the energetic system and we can clear them. And it just like you feel the differences and that can lead to the physical flow improving. So somebody who is really backed up in digestion, we can use what's called a My Health device on or off body. So it doesn't even have to be touching you. We can just be broadcasting frequencies and we use it over the abdomen. And 10, 20 minutes later, be in the bathroom, like blowing it up.
Damn, hell yeah.
Yeah, because it's bringing back energetic flow to the body. It's sending corrective messaging to the body.
That's really cool.
It's very cool.
And it's just like these frequency waves just like seeping in,
Yeah.
going straight through you.
100%.
And I tell you what, like going back to what you said, even from the simplest start, it's just going outside barefoot.
Yeah.
It's grounding yourself. Typically I'll do that when I go, like I'll do like a little spiritual mushroom trip every once in a while.
There you go.
And but I'm always like barefoot because it's that connection.
Yeah.
And
you feel it.
You feel the life, and you see it even, and it's pretty powerful.
It absolutely is.
But like people gotta stop trapping themselves in.
It's down to a scientific level though. If you can get past the woo and just think about the science of it, it's there.
Yeah.
It's all backed. There'll be another season for that.
Oh yeah, I'm not stressing it. Oh, not trying to. Obviously, I am a little bit.
Consciously stressing.
Sorry, I'll check the record button on this like a million times.
It's okay.
That one has the screen that flips.
Okay.
So I'm able to see me and be like, oh, it's recording. This one doesn't. So I'm like,
gotcha.
Yeah, it's part of it. What do you got to be out here by? We'll be done by 12.
I pushed all my clients back to later this afternoon.
Sweet.
So I'm good.
Yeah, let's do this segment and then rock and roll.
Sounds great.
And it'll be closed.
I love it.
But, you got a couple things to ask you. I know we were getting into, well, you'd covered quite a bit frequency and what you do, right? And we kind of reeled it back. We were like, it all starts basic with frequencies, the earth and everything like that, right?
Yeah.
Because we took quite a break just then. I guess now, is there anything else you want to cover based on like your career and, enlighten people? You explained it pretty well. And I think it's just people need to experience it.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing, honestly. I think because it is so different, because there's so much that's taboo, you just have to try it and see how your body resonates with it, because it's different for everybody. Everybody experiences something very different. I just said recently I need to start recording after just little clips of people's, even from session to session, are so different. So just the things that they're experiencing. But the mind-body connection, the awareness, the perception changes that you get from this type of medicine, this type of healing is, it's unlike anything I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
It's, it's out of body. People experience a lot of like euphoric type feelings where it does feel like you're like floating above your body. There's like this hovering, which can sound scary too to somebody who like has never experienced that, but it's so good.
It's like peaceful.
Yeah. And then you end the session and it's like coming home.
Yeah.
Like back down into your body with this newfound like peace and awareness and comfort and joy, and people will sob and
really have people cry.
Oh man, people cry all the time.
Damn.
Yeah, but it's good. And then you get up and you think, oh man, I'm going to be worthless the rest of the day because I'm just so relaxed. But then you get this burst of energy and you're able to do everything else you need to do the rest of the day. So
just feels better.
Oh, it's so good on so many levels.
I think it just says, it just goes to show you talk about people sobbing and stuff, but I don't think we realize how much we pin up.
Yes.
Yeah. And like we don't allow those frequencies in a way.
Yeah.
In our everyday lives.
Yep.
So by being intentional and doing something like with you, that really like forces things to flow better, and they're just like, holy shit, man. I feel like my life's changed.
Yeah. Storing emotions is another way that energy blocks happen in the body.
Yeah.
And you think about all the things that you left unsaid, or the things that, oh man, I wish I had said this, or I should have said that, and you don't ever, so you just stuff it down. And specifically for women, anger is one of the things I see on scans the most often, just because it's not a socially acceptable emotion. We suppress that shit,
Yeah.
And it's held in the liver, it's held in the breast, it's held in the throat, all these areas that, women have these major health issues. And it's about bringing awareness to that. Like, why are we having all of these specific diseases? Like, where is that coming from? What if I do eat right and I work out and I meditate and I do all the right things? Why am I still showing up with breast cancer? It's not just, by chance. It's not luck of the draw. It is what you are experiencing, the way that you're perceiving life, the way that you're perceiving your encounters with people, and how that's being stored in the body. And it manifests as very real physical conditions.
And it's crazy. Is like the fix is just very simple.
Yeah.
And as society rolls forward, we want to complicate everything. I mean, I complicate shit and, often, but, really the answer to most things is pretty freaking simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're like, no.
Well, it is, but because we are unfamiliar, because we have gotten so far away from it, it can feel like a lot of work.
Yeah.
When we are learning and educating on this and trying to figure out how to go about life this way that feels very unfamiliar to us.
Yeah.
It does. It feels like a lot of work. Like, well, no, I'm not really a meditator. I hear that a lot. Like,
yeah.
Well, you just have to take yourself out of like, this is who I am. These are the things that I do, and I can't do anything outside of that. If you can be open,
shed your ego a little bit.
That's right.
Yeah.
You can't have both.
The ego's a killer too.
It does. But that's keeping the body safe. I mean, there is a biological.
There's a healthy level.
100%.
Yeah.
It's saying we've already experienced the end of this, right? We've seen the outcome, and yeah, it sucks. We're not happy where we are, but we know that we can survive it. Yeah. That's really what it comes down to. Are we surviving or are we thriving? So if you can step outside of the ego and say, okay, we're going to venture down this path, and it's going to be a little scary and it's going to feel different. And the ego is going to be pushing against you the whole time saying, no, we're not doing that. We're comfortable where we are, even in our discomfort.
Yeah.
If we can get past that border, like you can tap into incredible healing that you have never experienced.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, that's the truth too. And I think a lot of people build that ego up so much that they won't take anything else for an answer. No. They're like, this is who I am. This is what it is. Yeah. And then they convince themselves they're right about everything to a degree too.
Yeah.
When really you just gotta, I mean, to me, I'm like, no, you just need to like kill your ego just once really hard, and like, because that's a whole different subject. But I think breaking down that ego and just allowing some other things in too can completely change your life.
100%.
Yeah. But, people get comfortable and they feel safe, but that's not how life's meant to be. No. Comfort's slow death.
Yeah, it's a trap.
It is a trap. Yeah, without a doubt. So with that, is there anything else you want to touch on related to that? Or anything else you want to touch on along your journey that you feel is very important for you to express? I'm interested in the frequency stuff. I mean, I've got an appointment on.
It's next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, yeah, 9/10.
Yeah. At
10 a.m. I'll be there. Yeah, I'm going to try something out. You just tell me what. Hey, Joe, you're doing this.
Oh yeah.
Don't give me too many options because I'll like stare at the
100%. I've already got it planned. It's going to be great. No, I think we hit on everything that I had, but yeah, I mean, this is definitely not where I thought I would end up.
Yeah.
Because it was very much outside of my comfort zone. And we talked a little on control. I'm a control freak. Yeah. I like to have a plan. I like to have, I make lists. I have schedules. I like that structure. Probably because I didn't have as much of that growing up. But this has very much been a season for me of taking my hands off the wheel and knowing that this is bigger than me and watching just this incredible journey, not just my own, but the journey of all of these people that I'm meeting and how it's been so interconnected and the shifts that have been happening and the growth that I've had and the growth that my clients have had. It is so amazing. It's like we're growing together, and learning and educating, and that doesn't stop. So, I mean, that's the biggest thing for me is I think it's reclaiming something that is ours already.
Yeah, without a doubt.
We've given over our health and our wellness and our decisions to the guy in the white coat, and there's a time and a place for that. There's absolutely, a time where Western medicine is necessary. But I think before that, we need to understand our bodies. We need to understand why all these things are happening. Yeah. We need to be able to listen to our bodies when it's communicating to us, because it is subtle at first. And when we don't hear those subtle messages, that's when it starts screaming at us and we start feeling all of this physical just agony that we don't have to feel if we can just be more in tune, if we can do the things that are beneficial for us, if we can intercede before it gets to be this chronic, chaotic thing, you know? And that's what this is. A big part of it is education and just relearning the body.
Yeah, well, hopefully some people are willing to listen to this and, you know, come check you out.
I hope so.
Because it's cool because you see the impact you're having on others.
Yeah.
The best part about it, too, is that it's impacting you just as equally.
Oh, man.
Like, how that impacts them has a massive impact on you. Just, I know I can relate to that just from the podcast alone. Just the impact that it has, but it has a huge effect on me. And that's just such a powerful thing. So it's not just a one-way street. It's just holistically, it's a beautiful thing, right? And so within your life and what you do, it's clear you found your path and your purpose. Yeah, and then there's no telling what's next, you know? I mean, I think things will evolve to a degree, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got big plans, but, you know, loose plans.
Yeah, of course. And it's like you talked about plans. I mean, I think it's important. I'm just like you. I have to take notes of everything and plan it all out. And I get stressed when it doesn't, like, oh, God, that was the plan. But at the same time, like, fate's got its plans, you know, and, like, you don't really know where that's going to lead you sometimes. So, but, you know within you, you can feel when you're on the right path.
Absolutely.
If you just pay attention to it.
Absolutely. We all have that inner knowing.
Yeah.
That voice that, you know, and the more you listen to it, the more you lean into it. It opens up. The whole new world opens up. And it's just so cool.
Even if it's scary, you know, that's the point too. Like, dive into the unknown a little bit.
It gets less scary though, because you get more comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Without a doubt.
And you start giving grace to people that you normally wouldn't. Giving grace to yourself when you're in situations like if I need to take a break, if I don't need to put this pressure on myself, I don't need to put this pressure on my kids, I don't need to put this pressure on all these people around me to bring these things to fruition, because guess what? It's going to be totally fine.
Yeah.
It's going to be exactly how it's supposed to be. And that sounds really hippy dippy, you know? And
no, but it isn't. That's the thing.
Yeah, but that's the beautiful part about it, is that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. I agree with you. I'm right on. We're on the same page.
That's good.
Let's get this out to the world.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So I guess, you know, if you want to touch on it, you don't have to. What is next for you as far as your business goes?
Right now we have a little bit of space where we're currently at to grow. Ultimately, down the line, my husband and I he wants to be a part of this as much as he can be. He's got an incredible heart as well. He works in logistics, so super high stress job. He stays pretty wired, but I've seen him when he's able to step out of that and into this, and what a different person he is. And so I know he has a heart for this as well. So, but we've talked about wanting this to be accessible to everybody. Yeah. It's not as much right now because, you know, it's the money has to happen from somewhere. You know, you have to be able to keep the business afloat, but eventually, like, we do want this to be accessible to everybody, work on a sliding scale, have scholarships, like whatever, to be able to bring this to anybody and everybody, because this is our right as humans to know the way that our body works, to know how to intercede and be a voice for ourselves and for our healing. And I think that's ultimately the goal.
I think that'll come in time. Like you said, it costs to grow to that scale and be able to open the doors to that, right? And, you know, I feel you there. Yeah. But you want to open the doors to more. You want to, because that's the goal, is impacting as many people as you can. That's right. You know, and so I think, you know, that's where your heart's at. Then you're going to get there without a doubt. And I'm stoked to see what lies ahead for you guys. Thank you. You know, and it's interesting you say that about your husband being involved. I don't try to put stuff on my wife, because I'm like, you got enough going on. Like, you, mom, you know, you're with Ozzy most of the time, and you got your job. Like, I don't want to ask you anything. But even like when I had my charity event, she was so proactive, and like, I don't know what I would have done without her, because I was a spaz. I was like, well, you know, and then it's hard for me to even give up like any kind of control, because I have to do everything. Right. So it's just like, oh wait, you're going to do what? You know, like, are you sure that's like, you know, but I just got to trust it. And you know, ultimately I'd love for her to be more involved in my business as well. And how cool is that?
It is.
Like,
it can be family.
As a family, impacting people, like that's the goal.
Yeah.
It's 100%. Really cool.
I love that.
And then Ozzy will grow up, and I'll be like, hey, you know, could get involved.
I know. I saw your niece on one of your.
Oh yeah,
episodes.
Jaden. Yeah, that one was a lot of fun. I need to get her back on here. Actually,
that was fun. But man. keep it in the family, and
yeah,
I love it. That's what it's all about.
Oh yeah. So I do have to ask you, both in your professional, which you kind of just touched on that. So if you just want to hit on this other aspect, but in your personal life, what is your relentless pursuit?
Oh man. Yeah, no, bringing exactly what we just talked about in my professional life, but to my family, and being as close to them and spending as much time with them, and being able to teach them, and especially my kids, watching them grow up in this and getting to experience this way of living and of viewing health and healing. And I mean, I've watched shifts in them already. So I love it. And ultimately I want them to be a part of this too, in whatever capacity. You know, I want them to do whatever their heart tells them to do. But I think they're just be tight, be close, be in it, and be helping people find healing together.
That's perfect. I love it. And I think, they've got that benefit. I think they're going to follow their hearts. Their mother has very much done so. So they're just going to follow that example. Yeah. I think it's beautiful what you're doing. I'm excited to experience it for myself.
I am too.
And I hope everybody can listen to what you said and break out of their comfort zones a little bit and give it a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish you all the growth and all the success. And, this isn't the last time. We're gonna reconnect again. We're gonna circle back around.
I would love to. That would be amazing.
All right, cool. Anything else?
I don't think so. I think we covered a lot.
All right. Well, Hannah, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been amazing.
Yeah, it's been amazing to have you. Thank you for sharing your story and just going in and out of all of it. I'm sure there's probably more we could touch on, but there's always tends to be things left unsaid.
Sure.
That's just part of it.
Yeah.
But I had a blast, and I'm stoked to get this out there.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
That was so good.